877-230-3062.
Okay, everybody, we're back on Turning of the Wheel. We have Yvonne, who's calling
Yes.
from
Washington?
From Washington, and we're going to do her solar return right now. Maria's had a chance to work that up, and hopefully we'll be able to get you some information with regard to what you can expect for the year coming up.
Hi, Yvonne.
Hi.
Okay, so in order to do your solar return chart now, I just need to know what your current location is or where you were at your last birthday.
My last birthday, I was in Monroe, Washington.
Okay, please spell that. It's a little difficult to hear you.
Monroe.
Monroe, Washington.
Yes.
Okay. And your last solar return happened on June 30th, 2008. So you see it happened before your birthday, technically. And I'm pulling that up right now. And it's interesting that your sun in the solar return chart. Now, I'm not looking at your natal chart. I'm just talking to you about your solar return chart. But we can certainly go back if there's time. Your sun in your solar return chart is in the 5th house. And it is very closely aligned to Venus, which is the planet of love, as you know. And the 5th house is all about romance. So there is an indication that if you are not in a relationship, this would only apply if you're not in a relationship, that a very satisfying relationship is coming to you over the next year. If you are already in a committed partnership, there could be a temptation to stray, or there might be someone interested in you, but you would not act on that unless you were already unhappy in your relationship. So are you in a committed partnership, or are you dating?
No, I am not in a relationship right now.
Okay. Well, I'm not looking at anything else at the moment other than your solar return chart. So to corroborate this, we would need to look at your transits from your natal chart and the progressions. But I will tell you that it comes up very strongly that there is the potential this year for a new romance.
I'm definitely open to it.
And it's fun. It would be very fun. It would be extremely stimulating to your creative self. This person would bring out a creative side in you. And you know what? I just went back to your birth chart, Yvonne, and your birth chart kind of says the same thing, because you've got Leo rising and you've got Aquarius on the descendant. Now, Aquarius on the descendant at about 20 degrees, we just had a lunar eclipse back in August that hit your ascendant-descendant axis, which signals a strong culmination happening for you in relationships. I would not be surprised if between now and the next eclipse series in February, I wouldn't be surprised if the timing of you meeting someone new happens around then. Because it's showing that a relationship will be coming to you.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Well, that's something to look forward to. And this is something that's really valid. You know, you've got to look at these things and understand the validity here, because there's a great deal of depth that you can pull from this, and you need to be mindful of, because I think what you're going to see is a significant change, and being mindful of this, I think, will allow you to be more open to possibilities coming your way, which you might ordinarily ignore.
Right.
So it's good to be mindful.
Yeah, well, thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome, Yvonne. Good luck.
Good luck. Bye-bye.
It's very valid. It's very interesting to watch this stuff unfold, because it really it gives you a great sense of purpose, I think, when people begin to see how this works and how accurate it is. I mean, the accuracy I've always found is fascinating. I mean, I work with transits in my clients every day, and I love working with the daily transits more than anything else, and the progressions. But I'll tell you, I think it's just fascinating, especially when you see certain planets begin to take over like this. Now, the ascendant, I think, is a key significator, because it really does project the sort of energy that you have. We do go through changes, you know. Yeah. All of us act differently. We don't act the same today as we did 30 years ago. We don't look the same today 30 years ago, regrettably. But it depends on how old you are, of course. Yeah, you don't want to be a 4-year-old. But, you know, the thing is that we do change, and the astrology chart sort of maps that and reflects it as we go around and through these different planets. What are some of the other significant things that the solar return brings to light, Maria?
Okay, the solar return, you know, especially when you're looking at the sun, it's where you're focused. It's really what is important to you. all year long. So if you just look at that sun placement and the aspects that the sun makes, you know what is so important to a person in that solar return chart for the coming year. And our last caller, Yvonne, didn't even care about anything else that I had to say. If you were listening, all I told her was about the relationship. She was so happy with that, and she didn't need to know anything else. So it just goes to show that the romance is on her mind. Someone new coming into her life, having fun, pleasure, all of the fifth house activities, that's really front and center on her mind right now. So it's a confirmation of what you are trying to do for the whole year. And I would like to mention, we didn't talk about this, the sacredness of a solar return. And I'm sure you would also appreciate this. If you find out in advance when your solar return is going to occur, the exact date and time, if you can give yourself a little quiet time, light a candle, do a meditation, write down your intentions for the year ahead. It's a very sacred time. It only happens once a year that sun crosses the exact degree of your natal sun. It's the right time to make your birthday wishes. It's not the right time when you get that birthday cake and everyone sings happy birthday to you and you blow out the candles. That's not the time. The time to make your birthday wishes is at your solar return. So I always tell my clients that, and most of them do find out in advance when their solar return is, and they use that as a kind of sacred time for themselves to go within and think about what they want for the year, and knowing what potentially might be happening based on the cycles of the coming year helps them direct the energy with intense power, because that sun is your vital force.
That's fascinating. It really is. I think it is a ritual that we need to adhere to and pay credence to and honor, because it really is a time of rebirth. I mean, everybody makes New Year's resolutions whenever January 1st rolls around,
right.
And it's maybe valid for people on a sort of on a global level to sort of say it's a new beginning because people like getting the new calendars. But the real new year for you is the day that you have your solar return, and that's really when you begin to say what the year before is. So you really need to have your New Year's Eve party on your solar return, I think, don't you?
Yes, that's a great way of looking at it. And another thing is that your solar return chart, there's kind of a going in and going out period, and a lot of astrologers feel that when you have your new solar return, that old solar return chart is kind of finishing up its energy for the first 3 months of your new solar return. I tend to see that. However, if you are working with the energy at a more conscious level, I think that old solar return chart kind of pushes away sooner. If you're avoiding some of the lessons, then I think that 3-month window of time is more accurate. If you are being proactive about your work and what you're supposed to be doing, then it's pretty much when you have that birthday, you don't need to worry too much about your last year's solar return and this year's solar return as well. It's kind of you're moving forward now. So that's something for people to keep in mind.
Yeah, and I think it's an opportunity to sort of, and I think if people look at it this way, we spend so much time and effort in our lives running around trying to lose weight, get makeovers, whatever people end up spending their time on. People seem to be genuinely unhappy sometimes with themselves, and they run around trying to find new ways of creating themselves. The perfect time to do that is the solar return, because it is really a new lease on life. It's a new time. It's a new day. It's a new beginning, and it's very significant symbolically, as Maria mentioned, as well as metaphorically. It's a time to really start over, and it's really, I like the analogy of the New Year's Eve, and the idea of a beginning is especially relevant for that purpose, and I think it's important to understand that. Some of the other things that I find to be fascinating is, now what we're talking about is a solar return, and the way the solar return works is that you take the planets at the time that the sun comes back to your initial birthday, and you see how they map out against your natal planets. It's sort of what we call a synastry. Now, synastry is the combination of two charts together and how the planets of equal kinds or likes map out against each other based on the significant aspects of the astrology chart. So we could have any number of different things could happen. You could have your sun could be squaring your moon. Your sun could be opposing your Uranus. Any of these things are huge with regard to astrology because they indicate huge things. Now, I mentioned earlier Mars. Mars is one of my favorite planets. Well, obviously I'm an Aries, so it's going to be a big